Hey everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Before we do anything, let me just get this out of the way. I know nothing about Warhammer 40,000. I know nothing about Warhammer 40k. Even though it has been in my household in one way or another since the late 80s, the biggest exposure I had to Warhammer 40k was before I think it was even called that, in a board game called Space Hulk, which I think was what led into all of this, but those Marines were Terminator Marines. The game was awesome, but that's the extent of my exposure to this IP. And I've always just liked the look of the Marines. Like, I thought they looked cool, I thought their armor was cool. I am aware that there are different chapters, I'm just not aware of what the different chapters are supposed to be. I just know they all have some really cool paint job and some really cool armor, and it's kind of like a knight-errant type thing, yes, no, where you have different chapters doing different things, having different beliefs. They do everything for the Emperor, I think, which is kind of a religious thing. I don't know. I've probably just really twisted it into some people that are watching right now. So with that in mind, having no clue as to what it is I'm talking about, although I know at least one, maybe two of my viewers know about this in great detail, and I know at least one of my viewers thinks that the Warhammer 40k figures are some of the best things that McFarlane are putting out. Because yes, indeed, this is McFarlane Toys Warhammer 40,000, and this is the Blood Angel Space Marine, the Blood Angel Hellblaster. And I picked this up because I had been debating whether or not I was going to get some of these. Because like I said, I've never really been into Warhammer. I don't know the lore, the mythology, whatever, anything of Warhammer, but I've always liked the Space Marines. And I figured I was probably going to get a Gene Stealer or two anyway, just because those figures look really cool. That I thought, why not just get the Marines, line them up, and just have them looking good on a shelf. So that's what I'm doing. And we have our box right here, that the box is very reminiscent of something like The Witcher or the DC Multiverse, where it's just a big plain box. The figure dominates the window because this is a big, chunky, beefy boy. On this side, we have some really good artwork right here with the Warhammer 40k logo down there. On the back, we have a nice promotional image of the Blood Angel with a few of the other Marines that came out. The Battle Sister, which I know nothing about. That was after my time. I'm lucky I know who the Blood Angels are. And then we also have a Primaris Hellblaster Space Marine and another Battle Sister. These are artist proofs, and that's something that he is really getting into with the Warhammer 40k line, are these artist proofs. And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a pretty ingenious idea, because I know a lot of people into Warhammer are miniatures painters, so it's cool that he's offering these painters proofs, these artist proofs, so that people can paint these things like their chapter, like their Marines. And then on the side here, we have another promotional shot, a very close-up of the Blood Angel, and then you saw the Blood Angel logo down there. So, without further ado, let's rip this open, and let's take a look at McFarlane Toys Warhammer 40,000 Blood Angel Space Marine. Alright, here he is, our Blood Angel Space Marine out of the box, and the first thing we're going to do, like we always do, is we're going to put the tape measure to him. And being McFarlane Toy, he comes in at roughly 7 inches, but he's actually coming in to the top of his helmet here at approximately 7.5 inches, just under 7.5 inches. And this beefy boy is heavy, let me tell you. Now, the one thing that I am not sure of aesthetically on this guy, before we get into the sculpt, before we get into the articulation, before we get into any of that, is that he has these shoulder pads here, but these pads on the figure, they can lift up, and you see you get a little bit more of a different profile out of him by doing that. And truthfully, I didn't know if they lifted up because this is how it's supposed to be on the armor, or if this is just to get the shoulder pads out of the way for some arm articulation, which we'll see in a minute. But either way, if I have them down and they're supposed to be up. You can put them up, or you can just keep them down like that, like they were in the box. Now let's bring our boy forward. Let's take a better look at him. All right, here we go. Starting at the top and working our way down is that his head can do a complete 360 spin. He has a little bit of tilt, surprisingly. Not much, but just enough that you would expect out of somebody that has a big armored collar on like this. Now here is where it gets interesting, that the head can really crank back, and the head can also look forward, burying the chin for him. I know that's not as good as some other ones, but for him that's pretty good, because what he has right here is the head is mounted to a plate. You can see that plate right there, and the plate itself is hinged. So that's how he gets that movement in the head, and the hinges are offset a little. There's little tracks, I think, slots on either side that let the pins go up and down so that you can get a decent range of movement out of his head, which is impressive for such a big armored boy. Now, as far as the arms go, like I said, you can lift these pauldrons up, these shoulder pauldrons up, and this is what I mean where I'm not sure if this is for aesthetics or if it's to help try and get that shoulder pauldron out of the way. Either way, that's really all the further, his arm can come up. But if they were down, you see what I mean? Like they kind of ride up on that anyway. So you just try and get them out of the way, and his arm can come up to there. Now they'll do a full 360. He has a butterfly joint in the shoulder. They have swivel at the bicep swivel, which is hidden by this big armored pad. He has single jointed elbows, which can bring him up to roughly about 90. The McFarlane swivel hinge swivel for the hands that they'll swivel around, and they'll go up and down, or you can do that, and then you can do that, and then they go in and out. Both hands will do that. Now, for being such a big armored boy, a big armored chunky boy, whoever designed this armor took advantage of that, because as we've seen, McFarlane has a lot of figures that have an ab cut right here. They give you the idea that there's an ab crunch, but then it turns out to be nothing. Well, not this guy. He can crunch forward. He can crunch way back. He can twist there at the ab crunch. His waist twists as well. So you have multiple points of turning the torso. And there's a little bit of side to side, not much, but more than we've had with some DC Multiverse figures. So, Todd, my boy, why can't you just do that with all of your figures? Let's get the arms out of the way. This is a rubber piece that comes up to help try and get some leg articulation, but the legs don't go out very far. That's about it. But what do you expect for a big guy like this? He's not going to be doing like high kicks. The legs go forward. The legs go back. He has double jointed knees that, for as chunky as these legs are, give him some really decent travel. Ankles rock back. Ankles rock forward, kind of. There's no toe articulation on these guys, but I don't mind that. And there's a wee little bit of side to side, but it's being hampered by the armor right here on the sides of his boots. Now, looking at the sculpt and the paint apps, I mean, what is there to say? It's Todd McFarlane combined with Warhammer 40k. Of course this is going to look great. Everything from the detailing to the texturing in his wings, on the chest piece, the blood drop in the middle of the wings holding it together, that same logo, that same motif over here on his shoulder, but done differently so that this time the feathers are splayed out. This looks really good, and I love that they used this dull black matte paint for it. Down here, he has his charm, his Blood Angel charm. I'm not entirely sure what that is supposed to be, but anybody that knows, let me know. But let's start at the head before we go any further. The head sculpt on this helmet is fantastic. The head sculpt, the paint app, like the whites in his eyes, in his red eyes right there, that's not painted in. It's just that they're that reflective, that those are my lights reflecting off of his eyes. I don't know why there's this silver ring around the right eye and the left eye isn't there. I'm assuming there's some kind of sensor built in there because he also has this antenna, maybe a rangefinder or something. I don't know. On the side, with this color blue, it kind of has an Optimus Prime thing going on right here, I think. And then he has these exhaust ports at the back. I don't think they're jets, but I'm guessing maybe oxygen or exhaling once there's oxygen in the helmet. I don't know. I don't know. But then we get down to the arms. Oh, and you also have a blood drop right here on this shoulder. And these shoulders are just big and beefy and they look great. And we're going to see this throughout the figure that there's even battle damage on this guy, that there's dings and nicks, that this guy has seen some combat. He's seen some stuff. Maybe taking a chain sword or a gene stealer claw to the shoulder, and that's what put that gash in there. And then the fingers on the hands, even how they have this articulation molded in. The fingers don't articulate, but it looks like they should, the way they have these little cuts in the fingers. I think this looks great. The texturing for the undersuit underneath all of this armor, even like this shoulder pad right here, like everything is done just perfectly. Everything looks great. It has little pouches on the back. These can't be ammo. There's no way this is ammo, and you'll see why when I show you the gun. He has some detail work here in the legs, and I like that it's not even symmetrical, that like this is different than this, and like this shoulder pauldron is different from this shoulder pauldron. There's nothing that really separates the wrists. Well, no, there is. I just noticed that. There's a little control panel of some kind here. I didn't even see that when I was playing around with him. There's a little control panel of some kind right here on his right wrist, whereas the left wrist is blank. And then when I was looking at this in the box, both of them looked like this. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of discoloration right here in the yellow of the lightning bolt. And Target had two Blood Angels when I picked this guy up. And when I saw that, I just thought it was a discoloration in the paint, and I thought, oh, well, both of them have that, gotta get it. But now, when you get it out and you take a look at it, you can see that there's actually a gouge in that knee, like on this one, and like, maybe that gouge is what made the paint brighter. Maybe that gouge broke off the paint and he tried to repaint it and it wasn't exactly a color match. I don't know, but like it gives this aura of it's old, it's used, it's seen battle. I really like that. He has these treads here on the boots of his feet. I really like the detail. This is what I mean by like there's texturing to the undersuit right here. I really like that. I have no idea what all these bobs and knobs and everything are for. I just know that it looks really, really good. And like I said, it's Todd McFarlane meets Warhammer 40K. Of course it was going to look good. Okay, here we go. Taking a look at the accessories. We're going to start with the Marine's backpack that I really don't know much about this. I don't know if these are supposed to be jets, a jetpack, or jump jets, or if these are vents to vent oxygen. I don't know. All I know is that it looks really good. I really like the detail. This is something that they could have easily skimped on, but they did some really good work in detailing it out. I just would have liked to have seen maybe like these little bobs and knobs painted in a little bit just to give it a little bit more color to make it stand out. Now, we have this square peg right here. Well, they even put detail in here, which is cool because you're not really going to see this once it's on our Marine, because we have this square peg, but on the back of our Marine, we have this square peg hole, and that just fits in like that. And now our Blood Angel is complete. Like, that looks like a finished product right there. I really like that. He also comes with this gun, and like everything on our Space Marine, this gun is a beast. It is huge. Look at it. It looks like it's been molded in this silver plastic, and then it was just painted over with this matte black and some of this blue up in here. I think I'm going to have to get some matte black paint and fill in the gun barrel right there just to give it some depth. But other than that, keeping in mind, I know nothing about Warhammer. I think this is a bolter of some kind. I think. I'm not entirely sure. It looks like that's a chamber that rotates, and these might be gas chambers that propel the cartridge, the whatever, the projectile that it fires. It has some really good detail to it, and I don't know if these marks in the matte paint that you can see are just flaws in the paint, or if it's supposed to look scarred and marred and used and battle-worn just like the Marine's armor. Now you see that it has this really chunky trigger guard right here. That once again, bringing our Marine in, you kind of, luckily he has very gummy hands, but you kind of have to work the finger into the guard there so that he can get a grip on it. But once he has a grip on it, and I do have to tell you that it's very heavy, And he doesn't actually hold it up very well. I think we're going to have to pop this off and tighten this up a little bit. But while we have him here, let's take a look at the hands, because you can see this is a gripping hand for holding his weapon. And then this hand has an open palm that it's made to cradle his weapon. And that just, look, you know how big the Marine is. Look at how big this gun is. That just looks fantastic. And then last but not least, like all McFarlane action figures, he comes with a stand with the Warhammer 40K logo tampoed on the front. And now for size comparisons, here he is with Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Trooper and Snake Eyes. Here he is with McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Gotham Knights Red Hood and Azrael. Here he is with Lanyard Toys, Xenomorph Drone and City Hunter Predator. And I like this matchup right here. This one too. The drone is always a little shorter, but I like this. And finally, the one I was waiting for, here he is next to Jazzware's Halo Spartan Collection, Master Chief and Noble 6. He's taller than Noble 6, and Noble 6 is pretty much the standard height of the Spartans in the Spartan Collection line, but he's not taller than Chief. So this guy is so big and chunky, and his feet are so large, he doesn't even really need the stand to keep himself up. But I appreciate that McFarlane adds one in with every character anyway. What is there to say about this guy that you haven't already seen for yourself? Having no knowledge of Warhammer 40,000 at all, I love this figure. I love his bulk, I love his size, I love his look, and truthfully the look is what drew me to the Space Marines in the first place. And I think it's going to be fun collecting these, that I can have them all lined up on the shelf and just have like representations from the different chapters. Of course, I'm a little upset because there was an Ultramarine, and that was a Warhammer 40,000 website exclusive, and they're sold out, and the only way you can really get the Ultramarines now is on the secondary market. But there is another Ultramarine that he's coming out with, but it's not in the, what is this armor style? The Primaris armor, I think, is what's out now. So I don't know what the armor the new Ultramarine figure is wearing, but it is different from what you see here. This mold, however, Todd is getting a lot of mileage out of this mold, because I don't know if you've looked online and seen how many Space Marines he has out, but there's more coming down the line. There's a GameStop exclusive. I'm sure there's a couple of other exclusives. But then there's also the, what is it, the Dark Angel and the Chaos Knights are coming out, and that Chaos Knight looks really, or that Chaos Marine looks really cool. Can't wait to get my hands on that. That this is just something that, because I'm not so attached to, I'm not so invested in, that this is something that I can collect, and I don't feel like I have to complete the line. I can just get the Marines that I like, and that's really cool. And these are going to look good once they're up on the shelf. Now, for as big and bulky as he is amazingly flexible. Now, he's not going to be doing any high kicks or anything like that, like I said, but he's a big, chunky, armored-up Space Marine. He's just meant to walk in a straight line, shoot, and punch. And he looks like he can do that very, very well. And I know the Blood Angel's been out for a while. I know this isn't something new, but this is new to me. This is my first Space Marine, and I wanted to open him up and see what I thought of him and share it with you guys. So I did. So I do hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy this look at this Space Marine, and we're probably going to be seeing more coming down the line. So until that happens, play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.